Good afternoon and welcome to our recap of the September 12th WASDE Report. I'm Jeremy Strubhar, and with me today is Brian Basting and Kent Stutzman. So Brian, we'll just start off with you, get right into it. The bean yields were almost unchanged, down 1/10 of a bushel per acre. Any takeaways on the bean numbers that we saw today?
They did nudge up the bean planted and bean harvested acreage, Jeremy, about 200,000 acres from what it was in August. Not a dramatic change, but a little bit. As you said, they nudged down the yield just 1/10 of a bushel. Bottom line is I think production was up 9 million bushel from August. If you look at the usage numbers, though, Jeremy, they did acknowledge crush up 15 million bushel from what it was in August. But they also took down exports 20 from what it was in August. So the bottom line, carry out up to from 290 last month to 300 here in September. It's still below last year. The crop year we just finished was 330. Average price for both years, Jeremy, 24 and 25 and 25, 26, according to USDA, $10 bill, both years. So I think we're looking now, Jeremy, at what do the combines tell us? We're going to be pushing a lot of corn and beans through the combine here the next few weeks if this weather continues to be this warm and this dry. So the combines are either going to tell us, either confirm or not confirm the USDA yield estimates from today. But I think that the other wild card we got to keep in mind with beans, Jeremy, is China. Is China going to get a deal struck with the U.S.? Boy, that could be a real big wild card in terms of volatility and opportunity for producers out there, both to the upside and importance of protection to the downside. China, here we come. And but I think for the short term, what are the yields going to be? Are they going to confirm or refute USDA's number?
Well, thanks a lot. It really sounds like there's an opportunity for extreme volatility on both the upside and possibly the downside, depending on where these yields come in. And with the guys I work with, the bean harvest is barely even started. So we really have no clue yet what the reports from the field are really going to show. So shifting gears to corn, Kent, they did lower the corn yield by 2.1 bushel per acre. The average guess from the private sector was 186. It came in at 186.7, not too far off from the private sector guess. But this was the second report in a row where the acreage number on corn did go up. What do you think about the corn numbers that we did see today?
Yeah, there were some changes, and the one that stuck out to everybody, like you said, I think is the acreage number being up 1.3 million 2 months in a row from the June numbers. And that planted acreage number, talking with Brian here earlier, is the highest since 1936, and the harvested acreage number is the highest since 1933. So just unprecedented almost in our lifetimes of how many corn acres got planted this year. Yield came down. Production is up a little bit because of the extra acres for total volume, but they increased exports as well by 100 million on the demand side. So I know some think that export number was too high to begin with, and they raised it another 100 million. We do have really good exports on the books today, but our carry out virtually the same as last month, 2.11 billion. And then, like similar to what Brian said with yields, we got to get more combines to roll. There's still, at least in Central Illinois, some guys getting started, but there's still some that I talk to that won't start for another week yet. So,
no, very good points. And yes, yield reports are starting to come in. We're seeing probably an equal number of good, better than expected reports and poor, below expected. So it's really early to try and guess what that yield number is going to be. So it's going to be extremely interesting to see what does happen in the next couple of weeks and where corn could go.
Right.
But very encouraging today to see a close up 8 or 9 cents on these numbers.
Yeah, the close today, or the high today in December corn got a tick above 430. And that was the first time since July 18th that we did it. And that was really just one day. You got to go back to early July to find a time that we were higher than what we hit today. So it was really good price action from that standpoint, giving a farmer an opportunity. I know some areas have wider basis, but we're getting to a point where, at least in Central Illinois, customers that I work with, we've got some fall bids right out of the field above 390. A few weeks ago, we would have had 360 probably. So it's nice to see this for sure.
And I think it really speaks volumes for the demand. We are setting a record yield by 7 bushel, 7.7 based on today's numbers, and the highest acres since 1936. And yet the carryout still only 2.1.
Right.
That's burned some, but still with those numbers, that is saying our demand is very strong.
Yep.
Shifting gears to wheat, the carryout was dropped a touch today, Brian. What other insights do you have on the wheat numbers?
For the wheat, Jeremy, I'd remind viewers that we won't have a production update till September 30th. Wheat harvest is winding down up in the northern plains, but basically the USDA will provide us an update in the small grain summary report of production. So we did not get a production update today. But looking at the demand side, USDA acknowledged we're seeing very aggressive sales of HRW, hard red winter wheat, the first quarter of the crop year. USDA bumped up the export estimate 25 million bushels today, Jeremy. 325 now for HRW. No changes to any other classes. So we did see the all wheat export jump up to 900. Now that's not an exceptionally strong number by any means historically, but it's much better than the last couple of years. Much better than the last couple of years. Here's what I'd say a caution note on that is that we're looking now at keeping a close eye on what's going on in Australia and Argentina. Those crops, the next 30 to 45 days are going to be really critical. Are we going to see some timely rain in our drying out in Argentina? They actually need now. They've got plenty of rain. Are we going to see a good finish to the growing season in Australia? USDA bumped up the Australian crop today, Jeremy, 3.5 billion tons. Wow. So I think we want to remind the producers out there growing wheat that we got some competition coming from Australia and Argentina start of calendar year 2026. So it seems to me, Jeremy, with few other changes to note in the balance sheet as such, we did see a larger crop in Russia, but actually smaller exports. Same for Ukraine. But we're going to see strong competition, particularly as we move into calendar year 2026. So it felt like wheat was kind of being tagged along, if you will, on the heels or on the tail of the corn and beans today. I don't think we saw anything really bullish in wheat today. Yes, the hard red winter carryout's now 391, but 400 million bushel carryout for hard red winter is not tight, Jeremy. And so I think that as we get these crops planted this fall, wheat is kind of looking at what happens in the final stages of Southern Hemisphere, and are we going to see any demand surface from the feed sector? That might be something to keep an eye on if corn were to continue to bounce here. But for the short term, wheat's kind of a tag along to the other crops, I think.
Oh, very good. One key word I heard you mention both on beans and wheat and Kent on corn is the volatility that we could still see yet in this market. Kent, what are you telling farmers to do today with the potential volatility and getting into harvest with both the bushels that have to go to town and the bushels and they will be storing on farm?
Yeah, for my customers, I can't speak, I guess, for everybody. I don't know everybody's situation as far as what basis levels they may have, but for guys that I work with, if corn's going to the elevator, I think they should just be looking to sell it. I think you could probably pre-sell some here today with this rally and look to buy some calls. I think the call options out to March are the ones at the money are under 20 cents, 18 cents, I think, or so for a 450 today. And I would buy that. And you're spending less than you would with storage and shrink. You've got your cash when you need it. I know we got to have some cash for cash flow, but you still have your upside and you can manage that and not necessarily fall in love with it like we do sometimes when we put corn in storage. If it's in a bin, obviously I'm going to tell you need to have a put underneath it because the market can still work lower. But you could be putting it in a bin and just doing some hedge to arrive or pre-selling for January, February. There is carry out there depending on the market you're going to. In beans, I'd be doing the same thing, depending on what kind of basis level we have for those. But I do think you've got to manage the risk, but you got to keep your upside open because we saw it last year. People didn't think corn could rally. We didn't have $4 corn across the scale, and by February, March futures hit $5. Things can change in a hurry. If China comes in and buys beans, and this bean yield works lower, we could see a lot of volatility in soybeans. I mean, we've got a good chunk of the Eastern Corn Belt, Missouri, a large stretch here that's one of the driest August through early September that we've had on record. So what does that do to this final bean crop number? And then for 2026, I think guys have to get started. I really do. We hit 4 68 here today on the close, I believe, on December 26 corn. And we had been up to about 475 back in early July, I think. So we're getting back up towards the higher end of that. Spring crop insurance price this year was 470. We're at 468 right now. Should we be doing some 26? We probably should. And if you look at the put options, they're not overly expensive compared to what we were dealing with this last spring. I mean, it took a long time to find some puts for people that they wanted to buy, and we can pretty much spend the same type of money right now as we did back this spring for this year's crop. Soybeans, I know we were at 1075 not too long ago. We were a little bit higher today, so you're in the upper 10s, pushing 11. With input prices being up, do we see the producer shift acres over to soybeans because of that from a financial standpoint? I don't think I would not want to shift a bunch of acres to soybeans and not protect them, especially if China is absent out of this. The world supply of beans can continue to grow. So I don't think this is an avenue where you just sit here. I think you got the 25 crop you can be doing stuff with, and you got the 26 crop you can definitely get started with right now.
Oh, very good. Great information. As Kent alluded to in the beginning, he works in Central Illinois, as do I. But give our office a call, and the one closest to you can find that on our website. But the situation may not be the same in the Western Corn Belt as it is right through here. Through here, it makes a lot of sense to make some sales. Call our guys out in the West. Look on our website, find the guy closest to you, and give him a buzz if you are a producer looking for some help. With that, anything else you guys would like to add before we sign off?
I think our next report is just creeping right around the corner, Jeremy, October 9th, only 4 weeks away. So we'll have a lot more information from the fields then, and we'll see what the markets tell us.
Well, thank you very much for watching. Be sure to subscribe on our YouTube channel. Our next WASDE report is October 9th, but on September 30th, we will be back with our grain stocks report. So with that, thank you very much and have a great afternoon.